Shalom everyone, and welcome to Smoking Truth TV. We're at show number 8 today, and I entitled this one, Mind Affected. But before we start this journey, I would just like to mention that there is so much information regarding this topic I'm going to speak about today that probably won't make it in this video, but I will try my best to make it juicy for you and deliver you all some good fruit while also exposing the bad fruit. I thought I would begin this presentation with showing you some examples that most of you have experienced at least once in your lifetime. Then I'm going to finish it up with a big extra helping of information. So with all that being said, let's begin. The Mandela Effect. For those of you who haven't heard of the Mandela Effect before, here are a few articles that you can find on the internet. So it says here, what is the Mandela Effect? Examples and explanations from Very Well Mind. The Mandela Effect refers to a situation in which a large mass of people believes that an event occurred when it did not. The term was originated in 2009 by Fiona Bromley after she discovered that she, along with a number of others, believed that Nelson Mandela had died in the 1980s, when actually he died in 2013. Another article says, the Mandela Effect, what is it and how it happens? It reads, the Mandela Effect is an unusual phenomenon where a large group of people remember something differently than how it occurred. And they had to throw this in, didn't they? Conspiracy theorists believe this is proof of an alternate universe. Well, hold on there just a minute. What about the people who are looking for the truth? Just for the record, I don't count myself as a conspiracy theorist, as that term was introduced by the CIA to mock people who investigate the governmental narrative. As this picture shows, the term conspiracy theorist was a term made popular by the CIA to stop critical thinkers from asking questions about the JFK assassination. In a memo called Counting Criticism of the Warren Report, the CIA set out to make the term conspiracy theorist a weapon to be used against anyone who questioned the government's secret activities and programs. But getting back to the subject at hand, have you ever found yourself thinking, that's not how I remember it? Has this changed? Is this an alternate product? To give you a better understanding, I have compiled a few pictures together to give you some examples. Does anyone remember the 1975 film called Jaws? The Mandela Effect in this movie was one of the most famous lines, as in, we're gonna need a bigger boat. But is it? Because now the movie is saying, you're gonna need a bigger boat. Another example would be the 1977 movie Star Wars. Does anyone remember C-3PO having a silver leg? Or how about the line from The Empire Strikes Back, Luke, I am your father? Because now it says, no, I am your father. The main one for me was the Kit Kat chocolate bar. I'm sure it had a dash between the kit and the cat, but according to the timeline we're living in now, apparently it doesn't, and it never has. Here's one for the younger generation. Did Pikachu have a black tip on his tail, or was it completely yellow? Another personal one to me was the Monopoly guy. I mean, does anyone else remember him with a glass monocle? Or how about this one, Looney Tunes or Looney Tunes? I will give you a few seconds on this one. So how many of you got it right? Because to me, it will always be Looney Tunes, as in cartoons. It makes no logical sense to call it tunes, as in music, when they're about cartoons. Another movie that seems to have affected some people is the 1979 spy-fi film Moonraker. In this movie, one of the villains, known as Jaws because of his metal teeth, had a girlfriend in this particular movie whose name was Dolly. The Mandela Effect in question in this film is her teeth, as many people remember her having braces that looked something like this. Or how about this movie with the famous lines, mirror mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? But if you re-watch this movie today, it says, magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? And apparently it has never changed. To some that are watching this, they're probably thinking, Nah, that's just people remembering things wrong, but with what I have shown you so far today, well, it's just the very edge of the ice wall. When you dig deeper into this subject, you will soon notice that it's not just games, films, food products and logos that has changed, because many people also claim that scripture itself has also undergone the Mandela effect. As this verse from Isaiah 11:6 shows, the lion and the lamb will lay down together, and I have to agree with the following statement when it says, that's the reason why so many pictures with a lion laying next to a lamb exists. Now if you go to your Bibles and look this verse up, it would have changed to, the wolves and the lamb will lie down together. Another interesting verse change would be the prayer to our Father Yahweh. There seems to be a couple of changes of the words in the verses, them being on and trespasses. I will read them both to you and then you can decide on what one resonates with you more. So starting with the old reality version, it reads, after this manner, therefore pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive our trespassers. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory forever. But in our new reality, it is always read, after this manner, therefore pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever. For me personally, I connect more to the old reality version, but there is one more thing I would like to add. When it mentions, as we forgive our trespasses, I remember it being, as we forgive those who trespass against us. I will do one more for you before we move forward, and that can be found in Luke chapter 5, 37 to 38. I'm not going to read this one out, but does anyone else remember this particular verse of Luke talking about wine skins? As I stated at the beginning of the video, there are many examples of the Mandela effect that have taken place over the course of time, but why did it all start with the man, Nelson Mandela? Some people argue the question to this day if Nelson Mandela was a freedom fighter or was he a terrorist. If you look for quotes from Nelson Mandela regarding freedom, you may stumble across this one. It says here, a freedom fighter learns the hard way that it is the oppressor who defines the nature of the struggle, and the oppressed is often left no recourse but to use methods that mirror those of the oppressor. At a point, one can only fight fire with fire. And if you go looking for information to see if Nelson Mandela was a terrorist, you may stumble across this information. I will let you pause the video so you can read this for yourselves. But to summarise, over the course of a decade in the 1980s, Nelson Mandela was responsible for the death of over 174 innocent men, women and children. All these events were said to have taken place while Nelson Mandela was supposedly serving a 27-year jail sentence. As this picture shows, in 1962 the CIA tipped off South Africa's intelligence service about the location of Nelson Mandela, leading to his arrest that put him in jail for 27 years. But I have a suspicion that Nelson Mandela was in fact CIA himself, and was just another puppet playing his role on the world stage. And why do I say that? Could it be because once he was released, he once again took his position on the grand stage, wearing with pride his prison number? Let's just take a minute to break these numbers down, shall we? So we were just shown his number was 46664, and out of that we get 666, mark of the beast. 4 plus 4 equals 8, and as I've mentioned before, 8 is the mirror image of 33, meaning the mark of the Freemasons. Here is a reminder of the mark of the beast, Revelations 13, 16 to 18. Also it caused all both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and enslaved, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark. That is the name of the beast or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of man, and his number is 666. Before we move to the next picture, just keep these words in mind: to be marked on the forehead, as well as, for it is the number of man, and his number is 666. But I guess to some people, this would also be a coincidence. Okay, let's now take a look at what his name translates to. So by looking at the name Nelson Mandela, and by using every letter in the name, we get the words L-Man, L-Son, and DNA. That's a probable translation to Elohim, as in God of the Bible, Elohim, the Son, and DNA, as in the Spirit of Elohim. Or simply put, Father and Son. All famous people seem to have encoded names, and most of the time it's done to mock the creator, and the name Nelson Mandela falls into the category of what's known as the Man-Son Code. Sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent there, didn't I? But I guess there are some people who are still watching this are saying this is all a coincidence. But for me, I have to say, I'm just not buying that, as there's so much more to this story than most of us will probably ever know. But getting back to the Mandela effect itself, and looking at the first article that I showed you at the beginning of the video, where it said that the first Mandela effect took place in 2009, we would notice that the Mandela effect started to take place roughly 1 year after the big switch on by CERN and the Collider Hadron. As this article shows, CERN's Large Hadron Collider is powered up. It continues to say, CERN's Large Hadron Collider is powered up on September the 10th, 2008. Scientists successfully flipped the switch for the first time on the Large Hadron Collider. Another article will show you that CERN has plans in place up to the year 2025. But what on earth is CERN, you may be wondering? One of the many articles like this one explains that CERN is something satanic. So it says here the world's largest particle accelerator is set to restart on July 5th and operate at max capacity, reigniting questions and concerns as to what exactly the secretive science facility is designed to do. The name CERN is believed to derive from the Celtic pagan god Cernunnos, that just so happens to be a Baphomet type creature like this. So according to Wikipedia, Cernunnos in ancient Celtic and Gallo-Roman religion, Cernunnos or Karnonos is a god depicted with antlers, seated cross-legged and associated with stags, horned serpents, dogs and bulls. I mean, you tell me, Cernunnos the pagan transgender goat, or the Baphomet that's also a transgender goat? Another article you may stumble across if you look into this subject would be one like this one, where it talks about the satanic particle. It says here scientists with CERN declare their discovery of the Higgs-Boson particle, more popularly known as the God particle. The conversation surrounding CERN is ultimately overwhelmed by its well-funded arts department and their large budget for media. And by looking at their logo tells us all too well what God they are looking for. There are also many things that are responsible for our minds being affected besides the Mandela effect and CERN, and these programs and operations have been put in place over many years and they still continue to this day. To kickstart this second part of the presentation off, here is a quote from Nikola Tesla. Alpha waves in the human brain are between 6 and 8 Hz. The wave frequency of human cavity resonates between 6 and 8 Hz. All biological systems operate in the same frequency range. The human brain alpha waves function in this range and the electrical resonance of the Earth is between 6 and 8 Hz. Thus our entire biological system, the brain and Earth itself, works on the same frequencies. If we can control the resonance system electronically, we can directly control the entire mental system of mankind. Today, scientists commonly categorize the electromagnetic waves in 4 patterns, which reflects different types of brain activity throughout the day. And these are known as the delta waves, the theta waves, the alpha waves, and the beta waves. And as some people have discovered, that Nikola Tesla once said, "I saw the past and the future." But looking into this information and into this subject will then lead you to the Philadelphia experiment. This article from MatrixDisclosure.com says, Nikola Tesla, the secrets of the Philadelphia experiment. The Philadelphia experiment and all records of the tragedy have been kept secret, but there is a rumour linking the experiment with the great inventor Nikola Tesla, who supposedly made all the necessary calculations and drawings and provided generators that were used for the teleportation of the Eldridge. Here are a few pictures of what this event may have looked like, with the electrical charge surrounding the ship while it is heading towards a portal, or a portal heading towards them. And from the onlooker, it would have looked something like this, and then vanished before their eyes. The scary part of this experiment, or so we're told, was when the ship and crew reappeared, as there were claims that the crew was infused within the structure of the ship that led to the shutdown of this program. The date of the Philadelphia experiment took place on October 28, 1943, but the technology that was used to carry out this operation was then transferred over for their next government project known as Project Montauk. There are lots of strange stories surrounding this military base in Long Island that involve portals, time travel, underground holding cells, walking demon creatures, big giant gorillas like Bigfoot, telepathy technology, the manifestation of objects through a psychic, and much more, as you will find out if you decide to look into this topic. But as we're talking about mind manipulation today, let's try and stay focused. This article says, what is the Montauk Project? Conspiracy Theory Explained. The Montauk Project, Experiments in Time, is the first book in a series of books written by Preston B. Nichols and Peter Moon. Here are the book's main takeaways. Homeless people were abducted from the streets and experimented on. Abducted subjects were exposed to massive amounts of electromagnetic radiation. Another article reads, The Montauk Project, History's Most Controversial Experiments in Time. The Montauk Project refers to a series of top-secret United States government projects, or experiments, conducted at Montauk Air Force Station in Montauk, located on the eastern tip of Long Island, New York. Apparently, this Air Force radar station has a vast complex hidden below it. Contents from The Montauk Project, Experiments in Time 2. If you're not much of a reader, you can find a few videos scattered across the internet like this one, The Philadelphia Experiment and the Montauk Project, with Preston B. Nichols and Duncan Cameron, 1993. This is Duncan Cameron. He claims to have been a conduit, or should I say, had psychic abilities, and was used to test some of the experiments that took place at Montauk. And this is Preston B. Nichols, the author of the books on Project Montauk. A very knowledgeable individual. Over the years I've seen this man interviewed on many videos, and his story and his involvement on what went on there doesn't seem to change. Another mind-affected program you may have heard of is no other than the MK Ultra programs. Or should I say, trauma-based mind control. This is well known and used in the Hollywood industry, and they use these symbols of the monarch butterfly as a symbol of rebirth, as you will see many people using this symbol throughout their songs and their acting career. Just check out some of the interviews of Britney Spears where she breaks out of character and has conversations with herself, and not forgetting the music video she made regarding the clones. There's no wonder that a song called Butterfly made it big. I believe that this song was performed by a band called Crazy Town. This was the only song in their career that became well known. Look, I'm not going to go all Donald Marshall on you, as I believe that guy has a whole lot of problems going on. But if you are interested in the whole human cloning topic, astro projecting, or the manipulation of consciousness, then it's worth going over his testimonies and interviews. His talks on the Vril secret society is most shocking. It does, however, make me think that did he get most of his information from the old book written by Edward George Buer Linton called The Coming Race? Some would say this book backs up what he's saying, but just remember, while you research this stuff, eat the fruit and spit out the pips. I can understand why some people don't want to talk about the Mandela effect topic on their channels, because with the things I have just briefly touched on in this video so far will lead you to all these government operations and projects, and as you can see, it's such a big topic. Some people have said to me, why are you chasing Satan's breadcrumbs? But I have to say, I want to know the truth, and more importantly, what can we do to keep a sovereign mind? But like I said earlier, with the events we have looked at so far, it's just the very edge of the ice wall, because there has been loads of mind control programs over the last 80 odd years. Let's take a brief look at some of them. So here's a list of declassified CIA military mind control programs. We had Project Chatter starting in 1947 and continues to this day. We also had Project Often running from 1967 to 1973. Derby Hat in the early 60s that was also running aside Project Third Chance. Chickwit from 1967 to 1973. MK Delta from 1953 to 1963, and QK Hilltop in 1954 that also seems to be still running. We also had Bluebird from 1951 to 1953, Project Artichoke, again starting in 1951 to 1953. It says here that MK Ultra started in 1953 to 1963, but like most of these operations, they still continue to run today. MK Search from 1963 to 1973, MK Naomi from 1953 to 1970, and Project Stargate that probably started around the same time as the Philadelphia experiment and continued over to Project Montauk, and then transferred over to what we know today as CERN. All these mind control programs all use frequencies and electrostatics and electromagnetics, and with the world we live in today, we are hammered by these signals. Whether they be coming from governmental funded operations like HARP, the mass rollout of the 5G network towers, to provide signals for your mobile phone. Right down to the family TV set that sits in your living room. It still amazes me that the majority of people haven't caught on to the fact that whoever controls the media controls the mind. And with the mass mind control that has been going on over the last 2.5 years, I have to agree with this statement. But most people won't realise that it is the black scribing mirror that controls the minds of the masses and wake up. I mean, why would they, when they don't even notice the skies are being sprayed with metals to amplify the indoctrination signals along with other dangerous chemicals? It seems that the only extraterrestrial in this world is coming from man-made products in an attempt to control the minds of the masses. You see, the human brain acts as a receiver, and even though you may not hear the signal that your brain is picking up, the signal still manipulates your mental state. As this picture shows how hypnosis can be transmitted using voice FM and the target is not aware. Starting at the top left of this picture, it says, a steady tone near the high end of the hearing range is about 15,000 Hz. A hypnotist's voice varies from about 300 Hz to 4,000 Hz. Output is now more or less a steady tone, sounding like tinnitus, but with the hypnosis embedded. The brain can hear and understand, but the ear only hears a tone or a rush. The output may be via the air, or via a radio, or via a TV, and we may as well throw in there mobile phones and tablets and other devices. I mentioned earlier about wanting to know the truth so we can find ways of stopping things like mind control. Well, here are some things I believe that can help, and since they're using sound and frequencies to control us, I figured there had to be some positive sounds that can help us, because wherever there is a negative, there has to be a positive. These are called the Solfeggio Frequencies, or ancient healing tones. I will run through them with you, then you can decide which one applies to yourself. 174 Hz, natural anesthetic, heals pain, heals emotional pain, increases courage, cleanses your aurora and gives you emotional wellness. 258 Hz, rejuvenates, regenerates tissue, heals eternal organs, increases energy, helps the immune system and heals your auroric field. 396 Hz, liberates guilt and fear, turns grief into joy, cleanses negativity, empowers goals, gives you inner peace. 417 Hz, facilitates change, enhances creativity, clears negative energy, manifests intentions and helps to cleanse trauma. 528 Hz is known as the love frequency. It's transformational, gives divine miracles, self-confidence and restores DNA. 639 Hz attracts love, gives you positive energy, balances your emotions, heals relationships and brings you harmony. 741 Hz self-expression, helps with problem solving, cleanses cells, cleanses viral infections and purifies the body and mind. 852 Hz return to spiritual order, awakens intuition, raises cell vibrations, awaken inner strength and gives you a bridge to a higher self. 963 Hz is popularly known as the Christ consciousness. It is a pure miracle tone. It gives you the high level of intuition including telepathy and psychic vision. Another form of Hertz I personally use is the 432 Hz. This is the most natural sound for music. It is also known as a miracle tone, with many benefits including repairing your DNA as well as lifting your vibration. Many people in the truth community use this tone, including Alex Michael from Conspiracy Music Guru, as well as ODD TV, but I will save the music subject for another time. We as human beings can also have an effect to the body and mind when we communicate to other fellow humans. When we use words like love, healing, prosperity, yes, goodness, well-being, I also believe that's why it's important to pray over our food. I mean, some of you must have heard of the rice experiment. If you haven't, here's a quick rundown. If you cook some rice, drain it, let it cool, then place the rice in 2 jars, on one jar write love and on the other jar write hate, then place them in separate rooms. Over the course of 2 weeks, spend 15 to 20 minutes saying to the one with love written on it, I love you rice, you're going to make me healthy and develop my mind and body. Then go over to the one with hate written on it and say nasty things to it like, I hate you rice, you're good for nothing, I hope you decay and die. After 2 weeks, you will notice a result similar to what this picture is showing you. This is something we can observe in nature. This is a snowflake. Notice how beautiful it looks? To me, this confirms that it was made through sound and frequencies. Now this last piece of information I'm going to talk about before we wrap things up is very controversial. I wasn't going to mention it as I wanted to save it for another video, but since we're talking about mind control, I think it warrants a mention. And that would be cannabis. This natural curing plant can be found in many verses in scripture if you know where to look, and many scholars still argue today over the translation of cannabosum, cannabush, or simply just cannabis. This brave lady, Kathy O'Brien, was a victim of MKUltra mind control. She also gave a long presentation of her life as a victim and exposed a lot of CIA secrets and involvements of their operations. Unfortunately, this video seems to have vanished off YouTube, but it doesn't mean it can't be found on another site. However, there is still a short clip on YouTube you can find where she mentions some interesting facts regarding cannabis, and mentions that after smoking cannabis it scrambles the bad frequencies and stops mind control. The title for this video is called Kathy O'Brien on Marijuana and Mind Control. Cannabis Breaks the Programming. And Elohim said, let earth bring forth grass, the plant yielding seed, the fruit tree that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in itself, on the earth, and it came to be so. If you enjoyed these topics today and wanted to know more about the Mandela Effect, please go check out Brian Staveley, otherwise known as the Mandela Effect Guy. He has some great videos on this topic, and also don't forget to check out a guy called Zetetic Warrior. He has been making some great content lately. He holds a panel on his show with some very informative information, with some mind-bending topics that make you question your reality. And if you wanted to know more about CERN, Ro Sanchez has been dropping some great knowledge recently regarding this topic. But if you wanted to know more about the Philadelphia experiment and Project Montauk, Channel 3X has some great interviews and documentaries archived. Well, that's about it from me today. I do hope you all enjoyed this updated version of the show. I know it's not ideal, but at least you can see who's talking to you now instead of looking at a cartoon. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all again very soon for some more smoking truth. Take care out there everyone, and peace and love to you all.